Hey, it's that card girl, and today we're going to be taking a look at the One Piece card games ST18, a purple Monkey.D.Luffy starter deck. Now if this deck isn't your jam, make sure to check out our videos going over the other starter decks starting at 15. There should be a card somewhere in the corner you can click on to get to the playlist with all the decks we've looked at. While we're getting into the box, I'm going to make a confession. Although I enjoy playing One Piece, I have never seen the anime. So cut me some slack when I mispronounce everyone's name here in a few, please. As always, we've got our leader, deck, and Dawn wrapped up on top of a premium booster pack. PRB01 comes in the box with starter decks 15 through 20, and we do always open the pack that came with the deck at the end of the video. Now let's open up that deck. We have our 5 life, 5,000 power purple leader, Monkey.D.Luffy. 2 copies of 4 cost, 6,000 power Zoro Juro. 2 copies of Luffy Taru, a 7 cost, 8,000 power. 2 copies of 3 cost Usohachi with 3k power and a 2k counter. 4 copies of Onami with a cost of 4, 2k power, and a 1k counter. 4 copies of Sanguru, who's 5 cost, 6,000 power, and a 1,000 counter. 4 copies of a different 3 cost Usohachi, this time with 4k power and again a 2k counter. 4 copies of Orabi, who is 4 cost, 5,000 power, and a 1,000 counter. 4 copies of Jinbei here, who has 6k power and a 1k counter. 4 copies of a different Zoro, this time with a cost of 3 and 4k power and a 1k counter. 4 copies of Champa Amon, who's 2 cost, 3k power and 1k counter. 4 copies of this 5 cost Fra Nosuke with 4k power and a 2k counter. 4 copies of Honkichi with a cost of 4 and 6,000 power. 4 copies of When You're at Sea, You Fight Against Pirates, a 1 cost event card, and 4 copies of this 10 cost, 12,000 power, 1,000 counter Monkey.D.Luffy. With, of course, our 10 Dawn cards we're going to set aside. Now, let's dive into this deck. We'll start with our leader, Monkey.D.Luffy. His leader effect is activated during your main phase once per turn, and it has you add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Then, if you have 0 or 3 or more Dawn cards on your field, you add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. This helps you ramp up your Dawn and will help you get your Dawn back into play if you have an effect that has you returning Dawn to your Dawn deck, although it does come at a cost to your life. When You're at Sea, You Fight Against Pirates is your event card that's main effect lets you look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and reveal up to 1 Straw Hat Crew, Kids Pirates, or Heart Pirates type card and add it to your hand. Then you put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, so this is a nice 1 cost searcher event. The life draw trigger for this is just the main effect. Champa Amon has an on-play effect where if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, you set up to 1 of your purple Straw Hat Crew type characters with 6k power or less as active, allowing you to be able to swing with them again or protect them from getting attacked during your opponent's next turn. Next up, we have our 2 Usohachis. The 3k power Usohachi on the left has an on-play effect where if you have 8 plus Dawn cards on your field, you can rest 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. The 4k power Usohachi on the right has you attach 1 Dawn card to get its effect when attacking, which lets you rest 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field. And by adding that 1 Dawn card to get the effect, you're bringing this card's power up to 5k, which is what I personally think of as the lowest power worth attacking with. Sometimes it's worth it to attack with a lower power, but I like a nice solid 5k swing at the minimum. Both of these Usohachis have a similar effect though, letting you rest 1 of your opponent's characters so you can swing at them if you're wanting to. Our 3-cost Zoro here has his effect triggered when you attack with him. He lets you add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active if you have 3 or less life cards. So another way to get Dawn quicker so you can play your higher cost characters faster. The 4-cost Zoro's on play effect lets you look at the top 5 cards from your deck and reveal 1 purple Straw Hat Crew type character and add it to your hand, placing the other 4 cards at the bottom of your deck in whatever order you like. A nice searcher on the cheaper side with decent power. Onami is a blocker with an on-play effect that lets you trash 1 card from your hand and draw 2 cards if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field. Kichi lets you give up to 2 of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during the turn you play him if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field as his on-play effect. Orabi lets you on-play KO 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field. If you haven't noticed by now, 8 is the magic number of Dawn for a lot of these cards' effects. Like Franosuke here, who if you attach 1 Dawn card, gets Rush if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field. Sanguru, when attacking once per turn, lets you draw 1 card if, you guessed it, you have 8 or more Dawn cards out. Jinbei is a blocker who breaks our 8 Dawn streak, and instead, if you have 10 Dawn on your field, gains plus 1,000 power during your opponent's turn, making him have 7k during your opponent's turn and just a cost of 5 Dawn to play. Pretty great blocker to have. The last 2 cards that come with Starter Deck 18 is Monkey.D.Luffy and Luffy Taro. This Monkey.D.Luffy has no effect and is just a big beefy boy with 12k power. The non-Monkey Luffy has an on-play effect that has you return 1 Dawn card to your Dawn deck to allow you to play a purple character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. So you're losing a Dawn that's in play, but you can get that back with your leader's effect or the 3-cost Zoro, or, on your next turn. Think of it this way, for 8 Dawn, the cost to play this card and the 1 Dawn you're returning, you get to play up to 12 Dawn worth of cards. Now, that's all the cards that come with our starter deck, so let's talk upgrade cards. Starting with Gum Gum Jet Gatling from OP03, it's a no-cost counter card that has you trash 1 card from your hand and then give one of your leader or characters an additional 3k power during this battle. Its trigger has you add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Trafalgar Law from Starter Deck 10 is 4 costs with 5,000 power and a 1k counter. He's a blocker, and on play, if you put one of your Dawn cards back into your Dawn deck, you can trash 2 cards from your opponent's hand if they have 7 or more cards in their hand. Queen from Starter Deck 4 is 5 cost, 6k power, and has a 1k counter. This is a blocker with an on-play effect that costs you putting a Dawn back into your Dawn deck to draw 2 cards and then trash 1 card from your hand. Nice searcher blocker. Eustace Captain Kidd out of OP05 has a cost of 5, 6k power, and a 1000 counter. Aside from being a blocker, he has a nice once per turn effect, only during your turn, where if you return a Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck, you get to add 1 Dawn from your deck to your field and have it set as active. So if you have this card out once per turn, you're able to negate that 1 Dawn return cost of a card like Queen. No wonder he got a manga version. Polly is from OP03. He's got a cost of 5 and 6,000 power. On play, if you rest 2 Dawn in your cost area, not attaching them to him, you add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Then, if you have that magic number of 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Sanji from OP07 is 6k power and has a 2k counter. Now, the cost to play this card is 6, however, if the number of Dawn cards on your field is at least 2 less than the number on your opponent's field, you give this card in your hand minus 3 cost, making it a 3 cost instead. Plus, he's a blocker. This 7 cost, 8,000 power Eustace Captain Kidd comes from Starter Deck 10 and has an effect that triggers on play and when attacking, where if you return 1 Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck, your leader gains plus 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. See, now that we've seen that you can have Sanji half his cost by having less Dawn out than your opponent, it makes it a bit more worth it to return a Dawn to get an effect, huh? Kaido from Starter Deck 4 is 9 cost and has 10,000 power. On play, if you return 5 of your Dawn on your field to your Dawn deck, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, and he gets rushed so you can attack with him right after. Charlotte Linlin is 9 cost, 9k, and from OPO 8. On play, if you return 1 Dawn to your Dawn deck and trash 1 card from your hand, you can add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Then you add up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less to the top or bottom of your opponent's life cards face up. So both you and your opponent are getting a life card back, but you can get that character of your opponent's out of the way for a turn or 4, and you can make sure it doesn't have a trigger you don't want activated. Now, remember that 10 cost 12k power Monkey.D.Luffy that came in the starter deck that has no effects? What if I told you there's a 10 cost 12k power Monkey.D.Luffy from OPO 5 that does have effects? And boy golly are they fun. So on play, if you return all 10 of your Dawn cards to your Dawn deck, you place all of your characters except this Luffy at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then you take an extra turn after this turn. Also, he has an effect that activates during your main phase once per turn. You can rest 1 Dawn card in your cost area and then add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Pretty wacky, right? So you could swing with all the characters you have out, play this card, return your 10 Dawn and characters, use your leader Luffy's effect to get a Dawn back, and then start your next turn so you can swing with this Luffy and your leader Luffy again. It's a nice game finisher. And a nice upgrade finisher, because that's all the upgrades we're going to be discussing today. Alright, let's get to ripping that pack. Oh hey, it's the Queen card we were talking about. It's nice when your pack gives you an upgrade card for the deck it comes with. Thanks for watching today. Remember, we post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with shorts on Sunday. Right now, our Monday and Friday videos are focused on One Piece's starter decks 15 to 21. And this week, we put out 2 bonus videos opening the new Arcasia Island booster box from Disney's Lorcana. It was a box opening kind of week. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your favorite cashier about us. Politely, of course. These people deal with enough on a daily basis. Hey, check out that Don Quixote do Flamingo Dawn. That card girl out.